America turns 250 years old this year. 250 years of history, weirdness, greatness, and absolute chaos. And to celebrate, we put together 250 facts about the United States that will make you laugh, make you proud, make you scratch your head, and maybe make you question everything you learned in school. Let's go. America is the third largest country in the world by both size and population. The United States has the world's largest economy, worth over $27 trillion. America was officially founded on July 4, 1776, making 2026 the 250th birthday. Happy birthday, America! The bald eagle was chosen as the national bird in 1782. Benjamin Franklin wanted it to be the turkey. The turkey lost. America has the world's oldest written national constitution, still in use today. The Declaration of Independence was signed by 56 men. The average age of the signers was 44 years old. John Hancock signed his name so large on the Declaration of Independence that his name literally became slang for a signature. Two U.S. presidents died on the exact same day, July 4, 1826. That day was the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. John Adams and Thomas Jefferson both died within hours of each other. The White House has 132 rooms, 35 bathrooms, and a bowling alley. America consumes 20% of the world's energy despite having only 4% of the world's population. The U.S. has more public libraries than McDonald's locations. Alaska has more coastline than all other U.S. states combined. Montana has 3 times as many cows as it does people. There are more public golf courses in the United States than in any other country on Earth. Americans eat approximately 3 billion pizzas per year as a nation. The U.S. invented the internet, the airplane, the telephone, the light bulb, and blue jeans. America has won more Olympic medals than any other country in history. The U.S. military is the most powerful in the world, with a budget larger than the next 10 countries combined. There are more cars in the United States than licensed drivers. California alone has the 5th largest economy in the entire world. If it were a country, it would be a global superpower. New York City has more people than 40 of the 50 U.S. states. The U.S. has more national parks than any other country, over 400 of them. Yellowstone National Park sits on top of one of the largest supervolcanoes on Earth. The Grand Canyon is so big you can see it from space. America invented basketball, baseball, American football, and volleyball. The Super Bowl is the most watched television event in American history every single year. More people watch the Super Bowl halftime show than the actual game. Americans spend more money on Halloween than any other holiday except Christmas. The United States produces more corn than any other country on Earth. Iowa alone grows enough corn to feed the entire world for several days. America has more tornadoes than any other country, about 1,000 per year. Texas is so big that driving from one side to the other takes longer than driving from New York to Chicago. Alaska is so large that if you cut it in half, Texas would be the 3rd largest state. Hawaii is the only U.S. state that grows coffee commercially. Hawaii is also the only U.S. state that is entirely made up of islands. The Mississippi River is so powerful, it drains water from 31 states. America has more than 3.5 million miles of roads, enough to circle the Earth 140 times. The U.S. interstate highway system was inspired by the German Autobahn after Eisenhower saw it during World War II. Route 66 is one of the most famous roads in the world and stretches from Chicago to Los Angeles. Americans drink more coffee than any other nation. The United States is home to more than 330 million people speaking over 350 languages. English is not actually the official language of the United States. There is no official language at the federal level. The U.S. has the most Nobel Prize winners of any country in history. America put humans on the moon 6 times. 6 times. And we did it with less computing power than your smartphone. NASA was founded in 1958, and within 11 years landed on the moon. 11 years. The Apollo 11 moon landing in 1969 was watched live by 600 million people, about a fifth of the world's population at the time. Area 51 is a real place. It is a classified U.S. Air Force facility in Nevada. What's inside remains officially classified. The Pentagon is so large, it has its own zip code. The Pentagon was built in just 16 months during World War II. The average office building takes years. America has fought in over 100 wars and conflicts since its founding. The United States has never lost a war on its home soil. The Civil War remains the deadliest conflict in American history, with over 620,000 deaths. Abraham Lincoln was the tallest U.S. president at 6 feet 4 inches. He was also a licensed bartender. Lincoln was also a wrestling champion in his youth. He lost only one match in his entire career. Theodore Roosevelt was shot in the chest during a campaign speech and finished the speech before going to the hospital. The bullet stayed in his chest for the rest of his life. Theodore Roosevelt is the reason we call teddy bears teddy bears. He refused to shoot a bear that had been tied to a tree during a hunting trip, and the story went viral. 1902 style. Franklin D. Roosevelt served as president for 12 years, longer than any other president in U.S. history. The Constitution was later amended to limit presidents to 2 terms because of this. George Washington was offered the chance to be King of America and said no. Washington also grew hemp on his farm. Thomas Jefferson invented the swivel chair, the dumbwaiter, and helped popularize macaroni and cheese in America. Benjamin Franklin discovered electricity using a kite in a thunderstorm and somehow survived. Benjamin Franklin also invented bifocals, the lightning rod, and the flexible urinary catheter. One man, all of that. The United States has the highest incarceration rate of any country in the world. America spends more on healthcare than any other country in the world, yet ranks poorly in overall health outcomes compared to other developed nations. The U.S. has more guns than people. There are an estimated 400 million firearms in the country. Americans own nearly half of all civilian guns in the entire world. The U.S. flag has been redesigned 27 times as new states were added. The current 50-star flag was designed by a 17-year-old high school student named Robert Heft as a class project. He got a B-. When it was officially adopted, his teacher changed his grade to an A. There are 6 American flags planted on the moon. Due to radiation and solar winds, scientists believe they have all turned white by now. The Statue of Liberty was a gift from France and arrived in 350 individual pieces. Lady Liberty's full name is Liberty Enlightening the World. The Statue of Liberty's shoe size is 879. Mount Rushmore took 14 years to carve and was never officially finished. The faces on Mount Rushmore were chosen specifically because they photograph well from the east, where the sun rises. America has 50 states, but there are also 14 U.S. territories, including Puerto Rico, Guam, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. Washington, D.C. is not a state, and its residents did not have the right to vote for president until 1964. Alaska was purchased from Russia in 1867 for $7.2 million. That works out to about 2 cents per acre. The Louisiana Purchase in 1803 doubled the size of the United States overnight for about $15 million. Today, that land is worth trillions. America once owned the Philippines, Guam, and Puerto Rico all at the same time after the Spanish-American War. The U.S. has the most Michelin-starred restaurants in the world after France and Japan. America invented fast food. The first White Castle opened in 1921. McDonald's followed in 1940. There are more than 200,000 fast food restaurants in the United States. Americans eat 50 billion burgers per year. That is 3 burgers per person per week on average. The hot dog was brought to America by German immigrants and became popular at baseball games in the late 1800s. Americans eat 20 billion hot dogs per year, about 70 million on the 4th of July alone. Coca-Cola was invented in Atlanta, Georgia in 1886 by a pharmacist named John Pemberton. The original Coca-Cola recipe contained trace amounts of cocaine from coca leaves. This was removed in 1903. Americans drink 400 million cups of coffee per day. The United States invented the credit card in 1950. America invented the ATM, the barcode, and the microwave oven. The microwave was invented by accident in 1945 when an engineer noticed a chocolate bar melted in his pocket while standing near radar equipment. The Internet was invented by the U.S. Department of Defense as a military communication network called ARPANET. The first email was sent in 1971 by an American engineer named Ray Tomlinson. Google was founded in a garage in Menlo Park, California in 1998 by 2 Stanford students. Apple was also founded in a garage in Los Altos, California in 1976. Amazon started as an online bookstore in Jeff Bezos' garage in 1994. Silicon Valley in California is home to more billionaires per square mile than anywhere else on Earth. The United States has more billionaires than any other country, over 700 of them. The U.S. national debt is over $34 trillion. If you spent $1 million a day, it would take you 93,000 years to spend that much. America's GDP grows by roughly $2 trillion every year. Wall Street in New York City is named after an actual wall that Dutch settlers built in 1653 to keep out the British. The New York Stock Exchange is the largest stock exchange in the world by market capitalization. America invented the concept of venture capital funding that powers Silicon Valley and startup culture worldwide. The US dollar is the world's reserve currency, meaning most international trade happens in dollars even when America isn't involved. More US dollars exist outside the United States than inside it. The penny costs more to produce than it is worth. It costs about 2 cents to make a 1-cent coin. The US Mint produces about 8 billion coins per year. Fort Knox holds approximately 4,600 tons of gold, about 3% of all the gold ever mined in human history. America has the largest air force in the world. The second largest air force in the world is also America. It belongs to the U.S. Navy. The U.S. Navy has 11 aircraft carriers. The rest of the world combined has 12. America has military bases in over 70 countries around the world. The U.S. has launched more satellites into space than any other country. America is the only country to have used nuclear weapons in warfare. America landed on the moon before it had figured out how to put wheels on luggage. Rolling suitcases weren't invented until 1970, 1 year after the moon landing. The United States invented the airplane in 1903 when the Wright brothers flew for 12 seconds in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. That first flight covered 120 feet, shorter than the wingspan of a modern Boeing 747. America now has the busiest airspace in the world, with over 45,000 flights per day. Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport is the busiest airport in the world by passenger traffic. Los Angeles has the worst traffic of any city in America, and one of the worst in the entire world. Americans spend an average of 54 hours per year stuck in traffic. That's more than a full work week wasted in a car. America has more private pilots per capita than any other country on Earth. The U.S. has over 19,000 airports, more than any other country by a massive margin. The entire rest of the world combined has about 22,000. America invented jazz, blues, rock and roll, hip-hop, and country music. Basically, all modern music genres trace back to the United States. The Grammy Awards have been given out since 1959, making them one of the oldest music awards in the world. Hollywood produces more films than any other country except India's Bollywood. The Oscar statuette is 13.5 inches tall, weighs 8.5 pounds, and is made of Britannium plated in gold. During World War II, Oscars were made of painted plaster because metal was rationed for the war effort. Disney World in Florida is the most visited theme park on Earth, welcoming over 50 million visitors per year. Walt Disney World is roughly the same size as San Francisco. Disney owns more intellectual property than any other entertainment company in history, including Marvel, Star Wars, Pixar, and National Geographic. America has more theme parks than any other country in the world. Las Vegas was built in the middle of a desert and has more hotel rooms than any other city on Earth. Las Vegas uses so much electricity that it can be seen from space. The Las Vegas Strip generates more revenue than any other gambling destination in the world. America legalized gambling in Nevada in 1931 during the Great Depression to boost the economy. It worked. The Great Depression of the 1930s was the worst economic crisis in American history, with unemployment reaching 25%. The New Deal programs created by FDR during the Great Depression built thousands of roads, bridges, schools, and public buildings that Americans still use today. The Hoover Dam was built during the Great Depression and took just 5 years to construct. It still powers millions of homes today. America built the interstate highway system in the 1950s, and it remains one of the greatest infrastructure achievements in human history. The Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco was the longest suspension bridge in the world when it opened in 1937. The Brooklyn Bridge was so revolutionary when it opened in 1883 that people didn't believe it was safe. P.T. Barnum walked 21 elephants across it to prove it could hold weight. America has more bridges than any other country, over 600,000 of them. The United States has more museums of any country in the world, over 35,000. The Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C. is the world's largest museum and research complex. It is free to visit. The Library of Congress is the largest library in the world with over 170 million items. America has more universities than any other country, over 5,300 degree-granting institutions. Harvard University, founded in 1636, is the oldest university in America and one of the most prestigious in the world. MIT graduates have founded over 30,000 companies that collectively employ over 4 million people. Student loan debt in America has surpassed $1.7 trillion, more than credit card debt and auto loan debt combined. The NFL is the most valuable sports league on earth, with a total value exceeding $100 billion. The Dallas Cowboys are the most valuable sports franchise in the world, worth over $9 billion. America has hosted the Olympics more times than any other country, 8 times. Michael Phelps has won more Olympic gold medals than most countries. He has 23 gold medals. Many nations have never won a single gold medal. Muhammad Ali is widely considered the greatest boxer of all time and one of the most famous Americans who ever lived. Babe Ruth became so famous during the 1920s that his salary exceeded that of President Herbert Hoover. When asked about this, he said he had a better year than Hoover. He was right. America invented the concept of the sports jersey number so fans could identify players from the stands. The World Series is called the World Series despite only involving American and Canadian teams. Americans spend over $60 billion per year on sports betting. America has more shopping malls than any other country on earth. Black Friday is the biggest shopping day in America and has been exported to countries around the world. Americans spend over $1 trillion during the holiday shopping season every year. Amazon now accounts for nearly 40% of all online shopping in the United States. The United States Post Office is one of the oldest institutions in America, established in 1775 by Benjamin Franklin. USPS delivers to every single address in America, over 167 million delivery points, 6 days a week. UPS and FedEx together deliver over 30 million packages per day in the United States. America invented the concept of the suburb after World War II, when returning soldiers needed affordable housing near cities. Over 50% of Americans live in suburban areas, more than any other type of community. The average American moves 11 times in their lifetime. America has more space per person in homes than any other developed nation. The average new American home is over twice the size it was in the 1950s, even though family sizes have gotten smaller. Americans spend more on home improvement than any other country, over $400 billion per year. America invented air conditioning in 1902. This invention is largely responsible for the population boom in southern states like Florida, Texas, and Arizona. Before air conditioning, Washington, D.C. was considered a hardship post by foreign diplomats due to its brutal summer heat and humidity. Americans consume more air conditioning energy than the entire continent of Africa consumes for all electricity purposes. Hurricane Katrina in 2005 was the costliest natural disaster in American history, causing over $125 billion in damage. Mount St. Helens in Washington erupted in 1980 in the deadliest volcanic event in modern American history. Death Valley in California holds the record for the hottest temperature ever reliably recorded on Earth, 134 degrees Fahrenheit, in 1913. Alaska holds the record for the coldest temperature ever recorded in the United States, minus 80 degrees Fahrenheit. The Great Lakes contain 21% of all the surface fresh water on Earth. Lake Superior is so large that it could contain all the water from the other 4 Great Lakes, plus 3 more Lake Eries. The Colorado River carved the Grand Canyon over millions of years and is now so heavily used for water that it barely reaches the ocean anymore. America has more species of freshwater fish than Europe and Asia combined. The United States is home to the world's largest living organism, a fungal network in Oregon's Malheur National Forest, spanning 2,385 acres. Sequoia trees in California are the largest living things by volume on Earth. Some are over 3,000 years old. The American bison was once nearly extinct, hunted from 60 million animals down to fewer than 1,000. Conservation efforts brought them back to over 500,000 today. The bald eagle was also nearly extinct in the 1960s due to the pesticide DDT. After it was banned and conservation efforts began, populations fully recovered. The United States invented the concept of the national park in 1872 with Yellowstone, the first national park in the world. Yellowstone has more geysers than all other geysers on Earth combined. Old Faithful in Yellowstone erupts every 44 to 125 minutes and has been doing so for hundreds of years. America produces more soybeans than any other country and exports them around the world. The United States is the world's largest producer of natural gas. Texas produces more oil than most OPEC member countries. America is the second largest producer of solar energy in the world after China. America invented the concept of the assembly line, which transformed manufacturing worldwide. America invented the skyscraper. The home insurance building in Chicago, built in 1885, was the first modern skyscraper. The Empire State Building was constructed in just 410 days during the Great Depression and was the world's tallest building for 40 years. One World Trade Center, built on the site of the September 11th attacks, stands exactly 1,776 feet tall, a reference to the year of independence. America remains the most immigrated country in the world. More people want to move to America than anywhere else on Earth. Over 40 million people living in the U.S. were born in another country, the most foreign-born residents of any nation. Ellis Island processed over 12 million immigrants between 1892 and 1954. Nearly 40% of Americans can trace their ancestry through Ellis Island. America has produced more self-made billionaires than any other country. Americans donate more to charity per capita than any other nation. Americans volunteer more hours collectively than any other country on Earth. The Peace Corps has sent over 240,000 American volunteers to 142 countries since its founding in 1961. America has provided more foreign aid to other countries than any nation in history. The Marshall Plan after World War II saw America spend the equivalent of $150 billion in today's money rebuilding Europe, including the countries it had just defeated. The GI Bill after World War II sent millions of veterans to college and helped create the American middle class. Social Security has kept millions of elderly Americans out of poverty since its creation in 1935. The Americans with Disabilities Act, signed in 1990, became a model for disability rights legislation around the world. America put the first commercial satellite in orbit, created GPS, which the entire world now uses for free, and invented the technology behind touchscreens, Wi-Fi, and lithium-ion batteries. The Human Genome Project, the first complete mapping of human DNA, was largely funded and led by American scientists. America has produced more medical breakthroughs and pharmaceutical innovations than any other country. The COVID-19 vaccine was developed in America in less than a year, the fastest vaccine development in human history. America sent the first human-made object beyond our solar system. Voyager 1, launched in 1977, is still traveling through interstellar space and still sending data back to Earth. The James Webb Space Telescope, launched in 2021, is the most powerful space telescope ever built and has shown us galaxies formed just 300 million years after the Big Bang. America is currently building the most powerful rocket ever created, NASA's Space Launch System and SpaceX's Starship, to go back to the Moon and eventually to Mars. In 250 years, America went from 13 colonies with no electricity, no cars, and no running water to the most technologically advanced civilization in human history. No country in human history has risen so far, so fast, and had such an enormous impact on the entire world in such a short amount of time. And whatever comes next, the next 250 years of innovation, exploration, and yes, occasional chaos, you can bet America will be right in the middle of it. Happy 250th birthday. That's 250 facts about the greatest, weirdest, most complicated, most fascinating country on Earth. If you learned something new, drop it in the comments. Smash that like button, subscribe to Couch Tomato if you're new, and go eat a hot dog or something. It's America's birthday. You've earned it. See you in the next one.